What's up, Mets fans? I actually am just checking in on before I even start our whole little thing about this is orange and blue thing, which you guys probably know by now. We just went live on, I'm pretty sure, all of our platforms. I'm just double checking that we are on Facebook as well because I saw a little glitch start.
Oh,
and
great.
I just wanted to make sure because we do have Terry Collins on the show today, if you haven't heard.
Yeah, it's not the day for a glitch.
No, not the day for a glitch, but we are good. We are live. I see the comments rolling through. Hello to all you guys checking in as you do each week. I did a little live before this live on Instagram to tell people to watch the show because Terry's going to be on. And as we call them, it's not a derogatory thing. The fact checkers in the comments are loyal listeners and loyal fans of Orange and Blue thing.
The producers.
Come to call them. They are the producers behind the scenes. And what we're going to do today, we have a whole list of things we want to talk to Terry Collins about, but we will be pulling some comments in as questions for Terry as well. So don't fire them off yet because too many things come into the side and I won't be able to scroll back. But once you see Terry come on here and you want to ask a question, fire it in there and we will put appropriate ones on the show.
Perfect.
So 79-45, the Mets, 3 up on the Braves. Let me ask you a question. What has happened so far this season that did not happen last season? Many things, but if you could pick one.
A lot of things. I just feel like this season, more than any season I can recall, they're never out of games.
True.
Like there's so many games where, which one was it? The game against the Phillies where Mark Canha just had those two
on
home
Sunday,
runs.
They had a spot starter, Jose Butto comes in.
It was one of those games where in the first inning, you're like, I've seen this game before. It's a wash. It's not going anywhere. You kind of just give up. You can't do that with this team, though. And I think that's the biggest game changer.
5 hours, rain delay.
Yeah.
They call up Jose Butto, who didn't even have, he probably had no thought. I mean, it's always a wish when you're in the minors that you're going to get called up to the bigs this season. You know, when you got guys like, hopefully Scherzer, DeGrom, Bassett, Cookie Carrasco, Taijuan Walker, so Peterson, all these guys on the team, Trevor Williams, whoever, I'm probably not going to get called this year.
Right.
So he's in Double-A a couple of weeks ago. They get called up to Triple-A, gets called up to Triple-A. I think he throws like an inning, and next thing you know, he's pitching for the Mets. So, once that game started 4-0, you're like, all right, maybe I could turn this one off. But I was driving home from Philly, so I did not. And the Mets came back and won the game. So the one thing that happened so far this year that did not happen last year, all of last year, is the Mets have won 79 games. Last year, they only won 77.
Did they really?
Right.
How were they in first place for so long?
They were in first place for like 3 months and then fell off a cliff.
The division was that weak. Wow.
Right. With
That's
guys
wild.
like Cameron Maben on the team and whoever else was on the team last year. No disrespect to big leaguers. They're big leaguers for a reason.
Right.
But on paper, it looked like the Mets shouldn't have had the first place for as long as they did last year.
That's crazy.
But the Braves won the division last year with only 88 wins. So there's a lot of baseball to be played. It's going to take over 100 wins to win the East, and we will see what happens down the stretch. But, we were talking about how important it was going to be that big stretch against the Braves. And, they weathered the storm. They didn't lose any ground. They didn't gain any ground because they did go 1-3 last week. They didn't get swept, thankfully. But, a lot of factors, I sound like an apologist here, but a lot of factors that have to be put into play over the last couple weeks. The Mets haven't really had any off days.
Right.
They just played 5 games since Friday.
Right.
Doubleheader on Saturday. And the Mets went up against arguably 2 of the best in the Phillies rotation with Nola and Wheeler. Look at us talking Mets.
I know.
And
look at us go.
They went in and won 3 of 4.
Yeah.
So the Mets are legit. They just need to, get back on track, get a little bit of a break.
Also, like, I'm not the type to
take a breath,
to make excuses when they lose. Like, a lot of those games against the Braves were winnable, but it's one of those things where I'm not going to make excuses and be like, oh, well, they were tired. Oh, they had injuries. But I'm not concerned about the future. No. Like nothing I saw in that series is like, oh, this is going to be a problem. Unless, of course, it's injuries people don't come back from and whatever. But other than that, like, I'm not worried. Nothing about it was like, oh, season's over. It was just like, shitty series. Move on.
Absolutely. And even last night, this comes up, especially, and I just put a tweet out a little while ago, but every year during the Subway Series, there's always this like, oh, the 7-line army versus the bleacher creatures, this and that. We're better. You're trying to be us. You're trying to be. We don't want to be the bleacher creatures. We never wanted to be or whatever.
Don't want to be a creature.
The roll call happened once accidentally in our crew, but whatever. It is what it is. the bleacher creatures, no disrespect to any fan base that has loyal diehards of whatever team it is, whether it's the Oakland A's fans who are still sitting there.
Yeah.
Last night they had
God bless them.
they only had like 2,500 people show up to the game last night.
That's so sad.
We'll get to something in a second that I want to highlight. But whatever team you're a diehard of, you're a diehard fan. We're in the same boat. We should respect each other. But whenever the Subway Series comes up, it's like there's this rivalry or some kind of argument between the two.
There's really more of a rivalry between the fans than there is the teams.
No, I mean, like, people that want to like pit us against each other.
No,
so
exactly.
It's like bleacher creatures, no disrespect. You're there whenever you're there. I think it's almost every day. Some of them are there. We go to our 12 home games, but then we travel with thousands of people from coast to coast. So it's not even close.
Yeah.
And I'm not shitting on them, but it would be cool if they did mobilize a little bit, get 50 people to Baltimore, and then it'll grow into 100 and 200, whatever. That would be cool.
Right.
I'm not trying to do it for them, but I'm surprised they don't. But anyway, last night, so the game, did you get to watch the game start on time?
Some of it. I was working. So.
Okay, so the game started off very strangely with Max Scherzer was going for his 200th career victory. Yes. Instead, he got his 100th career loss. So he's now 199 and 100.
That sucks. He's so close.
Yeah, right. But it started off strangely. There was an appeal play. I mean, Nimmo got hit by pitch, and then whether it was retaliation or not, Scherzer hit a batter as well, which he ended up scoring. But there was a whole appeal play going on. Like the Mets have been successfully pulling off because thanks to Buck Showalter has told the guys, like, don't wait for the appeal, take off for third,
right?
Almost sacrifice yourself if you have to. But Rizzo took off for second, and then they didn't really talk about this much, but he was mouthing off to, I believe, Lindor. He was like, shut the fuck up. He was like yelling at him because I guess they were chirping at each other when the umpires got involved. But it started off very, interestingly.
I'm sad. I missed that. I missed the first inning.
Well, especially because we weren't even sure that last night was going to happen.
Yeah.
The weather's been so freaking wonky around here.
Yeah.
It was pouring this morning, then it was sunny 2 minutes later. That's just weather, I guess, these days. But
Doppler Darren checking in.
They got it in. And unfortunately, Mets lost, but they can't win every day, right? So I don't know if you happen to see this because I want to talk about this as well.
Okay.
There's a guy on the Fan who I respect. He came to one of our tailgates recently, Keith McPherson.
Okay.
He got the job when the Schmooze moved on. Keith works for the Fan, big Yankees fan, whatever. When the Mets and the Yankees played last month and the Mets won both games, he went on the air during his show, and I think he was talking with Sal Licata, being like, whatever, it's no big deal. It is what it is. The Yankees lost. And he basically says that he treats these games or thinks of these games as like exhibitions.
Oh, he was the guy who said that.
Saying,
I remember hearing that.
It's an exhibition, whatever. No big deal. No skin off my back. So last night, I guess he got tickets through Craig Carton. Craig did their show yesterday from Hard Rock at Yankee Stadium. And I heard when I was listening to the show, he gave tickets to McMonagle. He's a Yankee fan that works for the afternoon show. And I guess they had extras, and Keith McPherson went and sat behind home plate. Yeah, I think he actually tweeted, thanks to Uncle Craigie, right? So obviously, Yankees are winning. McPherson, Yankee fan, works for the Fan, sitting behind the plate, is so animated behind the plate, going nuts, which good.
Right.
No,
Have
fun. That's what fans should be doing, right? Standing up with 2 strikes, whatever. And I'm like, watching, I was like, look at this fucking guy.
So much for an exhibition game.
For someone who doesn't care about these games, you seem to be caring quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I understand the same. I used to get on Sal Licata. I get part of being on the radio is saying things that are going to get people to call in and talk about you and so on and so forth. So I'm sure he didn't really believe that last month was an exhibition.
Right.
But to then a month later, when you were in your house, and the Yankees have sucked since
I know.
July
the Mets
1st.
Cursed him.
Right. To then kind of pretend like you care is kind of fugazi to me. So whatever. I called him out last night, and then he replied I don't care about any Mets fans as much as they care about me or something. And he kind of tried to spin it like he's
just so silly.
Whatever.
Just own it. Who cares?
Yeah.
The Mets won last time. The Yankees won last night. Great. None
Honestly,
of them were exhibition games.
They never do it. But if he backpedaled and was been like, obviously I didn't think last month was an exhibition. It was just my way of coping with the fucking Mets spanking us,
Right.
But whatever. So anyway, Jacob deGrom is not pitching tonight. I hoped he was, but he's not. I'm not going to the game anymore.
Going because of that?
No, that's what Katie thought too. I texted Katie last night before the game was even over.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't think I could swing tomorrow. I have so much going on right
now.
Which is a great thing.
Right.
It's crazy. I was talking to Kelly about it last night. I worked yesterday from the second I woke up until maybe 11 o'clock last night. Just because there's so much going on right now.
Yeah.
We're getting ready for Oakland. We got these 1,000 coffee mugs that sold out in a minute the other night.
Amazing.
People emailing, where's my coffee mug?
Yeah.
Because people are so accustomed to us shipping instantly.
Right.
And coffee mugs aren't as easy to pack and box and ship as like a t-shirt. You have to
Right.
like pack them with paper, make sure they don't break. So we are so behind right now. Not behind. We're like, this is like normal busy for people. We're just so fast usually. But I have so much going on. So after this, I'm going to Citi Field. I have to drop off a bunch of stuff to
today.
Yeah, to restock our kiosk. Because big weekend coming up, Old Timers Day Saturday, obviously.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to be at the ballpark. So I have to go to Citi Field after this. Then I have to go pick up a bunch of other stuff and then come back here and then go home. I have so much going on. So me being
the Bronx
in the Bronx
is not in the cards.
is not going to happen. But the Mets did not win last night anyway. But my entire plan was to do this. Happens every week during the show. No caller ID, and you call me during the show.
Maybe it's a
my
fan.
plan was to print out a gigantic Yankees logo, bring a broom with me, and do that live.
Oh yes, I remember you telling
the
me.
sweeping video live at the ballpark.
Yes.
And I think you said like, don't come home with a black eye. But
You're gonna get no. I thought you would get beat up if you're gonna start interviewing Yankees fans like you did at Citi Field, because in the Bronx they don't play around. It's their stadium.
Yeah, I guess.
Just be careful.
So listen, before we move on, we're gonna have Terry Collins on in a little bit, but we have to give an extreme shout out to our friends at Coney Island, because they've been killing it with us all season. The official beer of the 7 Line, official partners of the Mets. Maimonides. Did I say it right?
Maimonides. Yeah.
Look at that.
No, look, let's go.
They're in the ballpark for the Cyclones, Maimonides Ballpark. Definitely go check them out. 1904 Surf Avenue in Brooklyn. If you happen to be hitting a Cyclones game anytime soon, see the future Mets, take in some sights on the boardwalk. They have 12 taps of limited brewery-only exclusive beers, a full kitchen, indoor and outdoor space. It's a really fun time. They always have different events going on too, like comedy shows, live music, and all that. So check them out. But they are also giving away 2 free season tickets to the Mets for next season, which is an absolutely incredible deal. And it's actually not even a deal because you don't have to do anything except text them to be in the running. So text the word Coney Mets, one word, to 855-933-4223. It puts you in the running to win the 2 season tickets for next season, a $100 gift card to the brewery, and of course, a whole bunch of swag. So shirts, hats, pint glasses. They are one of the official partners of the Mets now, so they got a lot of great stuff, co-branded merch, shirts, koozies, bottle openers, flags. Like, we have a whole bunch of stuff here, and each week we give away some free stuff to viewers just for listening and watching our show. So if you are watching right now and you want to get in the running,
post it on your wall.
Press the little share button on Facebook. Post this on your wall. Tell people you're watching Orange and Blue thing, and also hit the little retweet button. And if you're watching on Twitter, you're in the running as well. So before we move on, because I'm trying to get to this, before we get to Terry, I'm going to give away this week's prize packages.
Wow.
Nice and early. Get it out of the way.
Doing it now.
On Twitter, we have Mrs. MRS, right? Is that Mrs. or Miss?
Mrs. That is Mrs.
Mrs. Mojo New York Mets, which I clicked on her profile, and it looks like she's married to a Yankee fan. And so she's wearing a Mets jersey on her header. I guess her husband's wearing, her significant other, whoever, is wearing a Yankees jersey, and the kid, they're both holding the kid's hand, and the jersey is split down the middle with Yankees and Mets. Kind of like
poor kid's got to make a choice.
The Diaz family did the Reds Mets, similar to that. So shout out to Mrs. Mojo New York Mets. I already sent, did I send her? I did not send her a message yet, but I will. And on Facebook, Carrie Lynn, I already contacted her. I'm not sure if Lynn is her last name, but
Yay,
I will send all that out as soon as I can. So before we get to Terry, we have a lot of other stuff to talk about, because this past weekend, the General became like enemy number one.
I cannot even believe there was, I can, but I still can't fathom the response that it got.
I think that it's absolutely incredible. And I knew, like, we have a group chat going. I knew this was going to get a lot of attention.
Yes.
Not taking away from Joe from Brooklyn or Mark from Hoboken or Sally from Smithtown.
Right.
If they threw out the pitch, it would have been cool, whatever. If you send a guy out there
the General
with a jersey that says the General throwing out a pitch to the Fanatic on your home turf, I knew it was going to get eyeballs. So not that like this was my grand plan.
Right.
Andrew's obviously deserving anyway. So great rep to throw out the first pitch.
He also has thick enough skin to handle the wrath of Phillies fans.
Yeah. Yes. No. Yes, he does. But, not everyone was very friendly.
Oh, no. Well,
as we would expect on the internet.
Right.
So, whatever. You got to take that with a grain of salt. He texted me that night because there was a doubleheader. I went to the second game as well. He shot back to New York. I don't know how you do it. because people talk shit about me or whatever all day.
Being bullied online is,
and I'm like, whatever. It's the internet. If it's some random stranger, who cares?
Right.
Like, I care more about the opinions of my peers.
Yes, people who you respect
or that I'm friends with than like some loser in Philly. You know. So we saw as well. There was, I didn't want to retweet this because all the information that they put out wasn't really accurate.
Yeah.
But like the local Phillies radio broadcasts or networks or whatever were talking about this yesterday. They said that like he bought the tickets.
Yeah, the general bought 500 tickets and he was able to throw out the first pitch. Which is none of that is factual.
Every fan paid their own way to be there.
Yeah.
It's not like we bought this honor.
Right.
And shout out to the Phillies, honestly. He's calling me now.
Hold on. Pause. Terry Collins is on the phone.
You take the reins for a second.
All right. So if you didn't hear the Philly Sports Talk Radio yesterday, there was one guy who was absolutely outraged by the whole thing. And the other guy was actually like, well, they took over the stadium. What do we have to be mad about? The Phillies suck. The Mets are awesome. And hold on.
Can you hear yourself here? Sorry, hold on one second, Terry.
Can I hear? I can hear myself. Okay. Good now. So yeah, I don't know if anybody saw it. I think somebody had posted it on Twitter. A friend had sent it to Andrew, but shout out to Andrew handling all of this with stride. It is not fun being bullied online. Be nice to people. I don't know how to keep talking. Are we good? Okay. We said this was going to be similar to like the Jay Horowitz, Bobby Valentine trying to get the video set up kind of thing. So bear with Terry.
Okay.
He's
I'm trying
doing
to
his
think
best.
of what the extreme backup plan is if for some reason he does not pop up onto the screen right now.
Okay. Live show.
Damn.
What was the issue?
He said that when he clicked on it on his phone, it says that he has to open up Safari and he doesn't have Safari. But like, it's never an issue. I think it just opens up your camera.
Does he have a computer?
Yes. I don't know. Okay. I've got to brainstorm here. You keep talking.
Oh God. I'm not.
This is awesome that it's a live show and we're trying to figure this out on the fly. I'm going to probably have to set.
Well, okay. I don't know how difficult this would be for him to manage, but can you tell him to go to the App Store and download Safari?
No.
Okay.
Keep talking.
I don't know what. Okay. Let's see. What else did you write down for me here?
Online
bullying. No, I don't really know what else to talk about. I guess right now is a good time getting your questions for Terry Collins. Send them over. Oh, am I going to the game next week or should I ask if they're? I am not. The 31st. Yes, I am going to the game on the 31st. 7-line outing against the Dodgers. It's a night game, right? Yeah, it's a night game. Awesome. This is why I don't do this show on my own. Darren talks, I respond.
You can do this.
No, I'm just like, you come in like ready, like knowing like how to segue from one to the next. I just kind of follow your lead.
People think it's easy,
And who is this no caller ID person
Maybe
that just keeps calling you?
All right, guys. So as I try, the only other option we have here is to just have him have the sound of him.
Okay.
And not his
beautiful face.
Right, but I don't think he'd be able to hear us. Damn it.
All right, we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna work on this.
Okay, so anyway, talk about Tick Pick because Old Timers Day is this weekend.
Yes, Old Timers Day is this weekend, which is one of the big reasons we're having Terry Collins on. Terry Collins will be at Old Timers Day along with a bunch of other people. If you would like to see Old Timers Day, see some old familiar faces, and also watch an actual Mets game after, I believe, this Saturday, August 27th, Old Timers Day. If you're going to get your tickets, you have not got them yet, you want to go to Tick Pick. Tick Pick is the best place to get tickets of not only Mets games, but of any kind. There are no taxes or fees. The price you see is the price you're getting. It is the absolute best place to get them. Not that I encourage you wait to the last minute for a game like Old Timers Day, but honestly, sometimes day of, you will find tickets for as low as like $5. And if you are a first-time user, and if you have our promo code OABT, you can get $10 off any purchase of $99 or more using that code OABT. Again, if you are a first-time user.
So this Friday is the Max Scherzer strikeout counter bobblehead. If you haven't seen that yet, you can get in for $12.
Damn.
Saturday, Old Timers Day, 7:10 start. I think Old Timers Day starts around like 3-ish or 4-ish. It's a little early. $39. So definitely check out Tick Pick. Like Julia said, no fees. And we use it. We love it. Julia was big on Tick Pick before they even started to join up on the show. But
I've always been
you told them the promo code?
Promo code OABT, orange and blue thing, our initials. $10 off any purchase of $99 or more if you're a first-time user. If you're not a first-time user, make a new account. use that code OABT. And yeah, we love TickPick.
I'm very disappointed because I think that having Terry on the screen would be great.
Yes, I agree. I don't know if people can hear you, but yes, having Terry on the screen would be great.
The other option will have to be this, which people are learning on the fly right now. How? Oh, there he is.
He's here?
No.
Oh, he's calling. Hold on. Oh God, it's just me again.
Terry. Okay, would you be able to just give me 1 second? I'm just setting something up here, and I think that we'll be able to just run it this way. Okay.
Live show, baby. So we've talked about it before, how Darren wears all the hats on this show, but
this is a first.
This is a first. He's always been the sound guy, but this is innovative.
Yeah.
Just gonna cross your fingers for no feedback. Oh gosh. Shout out to all you guys watching this. I don't know if this is entertaining or cringeworthy.
The people that are listening after, they're gonna be a little confused, but I think
yeah.
that it's
The people watching it, this has to be kind of entertaining. Terry Collins is on the phone right now. Hi, Terry. Nobody else can hear you yet, but hi.
Okay. So what we need really quick, because we're gonna just do a quick sound check here. Terry, can you just say 1, 2, 3 or something?
Yeah, sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
All right. So let me just double check that the folks at home can hear you, and then we will get rolling. All right, guys at home, did you hear Terry's sound check there? If you did, just tell us in the comments.
I heard him in my ears.
This is good. This is great. Look at this. Look at this on the spot, figuring it out. All right, cool. So no camera, but we all know what Terry looks like. So let's just roll this. So our next guest.
He's getting older by the minute.
Our next guest spent 7 seasons in Queens from 2011 to 2017. He's the longest tenured manager in franchise history with 1,134 games of service and brought our boys to the World Series in 2015. Still a very familiar face within the Met family and a regular on SNY, and also one of this weekend's managers at Citi Field for Old Timers Day is Mr. Terry Collins. What's up, Terry?
Not much. How are you guys doing?
We're doing all right. Listen, so we've been running this show for 6 years now, and I don't think I've ever on the spot. I know you couldn't see it, but I'll show you afterwards. I just completely changed the soundboard. We don't have any producers. We do everything on the spot, so I appreciate your patience with us.
That's all right.
No, that was awesome. Also, Terry, I don't know if Darren tells people ahead of time that he has a co-host on the show. My name's Julia. Nice to meet you.
Julia.
Yes, Julia. So I'm going to ask you a question. We had David Wright on the show a few years ago, and I asked him this question, and I'm very curious to hear other people's answers as well. Who do you feel was the most underrated player that you managed for the Mets, whether they were underrated by the fans, the organization? Who do you feel is somebody that maybe we didn't realize how important they really were to a team that you managed?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. Going through some of the time, I would, Lucas Duda would come to mind.
Okay.
He was involved in some huge games and some big hits. Wilmer Flores was a guy who, came off the bench a lot and got big hits, and people told me he couldn't play shortstop, and yet he played shortstop in the World Series in 2015. So extremely underrated player, very good hitter, still is a good hitter. So those guys would come to mind. I would probably say, Murph obviously outside, in his playoff time was, right. But before that, this guy, we really count on him a lot for big hits. And I'll tell you one guy who was underrated, mm-hmm. even though he got an accolade by getting a Gold Glove, and that was Juan De Garis.
Yeah.
I mean, my God, he was brilliant in center field. He may not have hit a lot, but he saved a lot of runs, I will tell you.
For sure.
So I feel like there's quite a few Mets that unfortunately, fortunately for them, unfortunately for us, once they left the Mets, they had a lot of success, like Justin Turner or Daniel Murphy. Are these, was that surprising to you, or did you kind of know that once these guys maybe had a change of pace that they would thrive?
Well, I knew Murph was going to thrive for sure. I mean, Dan hit. He could really hit. And at the end of 2015, our hitting coaches at the time, Kevin Long and Pat Ressler, they ran some stats by Dan and showed him that when he got the ball in the air, how much damage he did. And Dan said, okay, I'm going to start hitting the ball in the air. And he did it. He had the ability to do it. His bat-to-ball skills were second to none. Now, Justin Turner, when we lost Justin, who was a very good extra player for us, when he went to Los Angeles, he took it upon himself to change his swing and went to a hitting guy out in L.A., changed his swing, changed his approach. And so, you got to tip your hat to what Justin did.
Yeah, totally. So I will say I'm guilty of it as well. A lot of us, watching the game at home with no actual big league experience, like to take upon ourselves to be like couch managers, managing the game from home and criticizing every move a manager has ever made. But I'm wondering if you have ever kind of criticized yourself in certain situations, and if there is one time you can think of any game, any move that you wish you had a do-over on, and if so, what would you do instead?
You've heard this before, haven't you? You just want me to say it on your show.
No, I'm really curious.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of games. I mean, every time after a game, when you make decisions before, during a game, you think about the decisions long before they happen.
Right.
You got to think 1 or 2 innings ahead. And so, but I will tell you the one game that always comes to mind is, whether or not I should have left Matt Harvey in game 3 in the World Series, or game 4 in the World Series, 5, I guess it was. But, that's past history now. And, I thought at the time, Matt was pitching great and I thought he deserved it, but we did have a closer, even though Garis had blown a save in the World Series. Still, guy had 50 some saves for us. So that's one of the games I'll always look back on and say, God, if I could do it over again, I probably would have brought Garis in.
It's impossible to predict what's going to happen. Obviously we were there for that game. And when you left him in and he came back trotting out up the steps.
Oh my God,
field,
it was the best thing ever.
We were going nuts.
So, I was just going to say, every time I talk to someone about this game, I'm not even just saying this to blow smoke up your butt because you're on the show right now, but I could not imagine you taking him out in that moment, because God forbid it went south the other way. You never would have heard the end of it because of that. It's
a double-edged sword.
Yeah. So
right.
you can't kick yourself too hard.
I will tell you, Julia, I live in Florida, and the other day I was in a store in Florida and ran into a fan, and he saw me. He said, "Are you Terry Collins?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "You should have took Harvey out." That was the first thing he said out of his mouth. And I said, well, let me tell you, there's 48,000 people who disagree.
Oh, my God.
No, you're right.
No, don't be like that fan. That's terrible.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about how many years ago that already was.
I know.
We've all been hoping to get back to the promised land. Hopefully this is the season. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, how do you see the rest of the year with the Mets going? I mean, we're only up 3 on the Braves now. Do you think they're going to hold tight or what?
Yes, I do. I think the Mets are going to win the division. They got I think they got Braves 3 at the end of the season. They're awfully strong, and you don't see Max Scherzer have a game where he makes the mistakes he made last night. This guy's so good, and with Jake coming, and we said before, boy, if they could get 10 starts out of Jacob deGrom the way he can pitch, that's just going to strengthen their staff. They're going to get Carrasco back. They're just so deep, and they've done such a good job to give them some depth on the bench now. I just don't see them losing that lead.
Okay.
So we obviously have Terry Collins on the horn right now. If you're watching live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, and you have a question for Terry, throw it into the chat. I will scroll through them and pull some onto the screen here. So, Julie, you want to take this next one about the pitching staff?
Yeah. So you were talking about DeGrom. You mentioned Harvey before. I really want to know, that core 5, it was supposed to be Harvey, Syndergaard, DeGrom, Matz, Wheeler. What was, even though we really didn't have them all at the same time very often, but what was it like managing such a young pitching staff with so much potential and, the hype, the egos, the struggles that came with them if they came, and if they didn't live up to that kind of hype? How did you handle that from the start?
Well, I will tell you, that was, certainly that was going to be a dream staff had they all stayed healthy. And nobody could have predicted the injuries that came about, but it was really an honor. But I was really lucky. Dan Worthington was my pitching coach, and those guys really respected Dan a lot. Anything he had to say, they tried it. I mean, Dan made Noah Syndergaard a better pitcher. Yeah. He taught him a 2-seam fastball, and all of a sudden he didn't have to, in 5 innings, didn't throw 110 pitches. He got easy outs on 2 and 3 pitches because of the 2-seam fastball, and it changed the way he pitched. Jacob deGrom, even though Jacob has changed who he is in the last few years. I mean, Dan taught him a changeup and really made him work on his changeup. And, we just it was very sad, the fact that these guys couldn't stay healthy together at the same time, because that would have been a fun staff to watch.
For sure.
So speaking of managers, I guess it's relatively young for, I think, Hefner to already be in the role he has. Was there anyone else that maybe you managed over the years that you could see being a great manager? I think that some fans are, have hoped that maybe Granderson would get in the mix, or maybe David Wright. Is there anyone that you have maybe managed over the years with the Mets that you could see taking on that kind of role?
I will tell you, the one guy I talked to him about after he decided to retire, talked to him about being a coach, and that was Michael Kadire. Tremendous leadership skills, great, a great career, really a tremendous guy in the clubhouse, demanded things out of everybody. In 15, when David was hurt a lot of the season, Michael Kadire really had a lot to say in that clubhouse. He brought the guys together. He's the one who started all this victory belt.
I remember.
MVP belt at the end of the game. He's the one who came up with that idea. And David bought the belt, but it was, it was something the guys played for. They wanted, they wanted to wear that thing and go through the ritual at the end of a game. And it was Michael Kadire that kind of led that stuff. And I really thought he went sometime, and I'm not sure it's out of his realm right now, but he'd be a great manager.
Yeah, that was actually David's answer to my question, by the way. The most underrated teammate he had. He said in that year, Michael Kadire was basically, would take him for help him take over his position, which people obviously didn't really see on the sidelines. So
yeah, looking back at all the video footage and everything from 15, there was a documentary, Tears of Joy, and there was one shot in there in the clubhouse. I remember I can picture it in my head right now. Kadire's off to the left, holding the belt. He's starting the speech. Everyone starts throwing the champagne. 15 was just such an incredible run. And as a fan, that year we had things planned before we obviously knew that you guys were going to go on a run. But we went in that August. We were in Baltimore. We were in Colorado. We obviously were at every playoff game at Citi Field. But at one point in that season, was it maybe after you guys got Cespedes that you really felt that this team was special and had a real shot for the World Series?
Well, I thought the Cespedes trade really got us going. But Sandy did just a great job. Everybody looks at Cespedes. But he went out and he got us depth. He went out and got Juan Uribe, who gave us depth. He went out and got Kelly Johnson, who gave us depth. And now all of a sudden you're looking down the bench and you're not looking at a guy who just got called up from AAA. You're looking at guys who got 5, 6, 8 years of major league experience who were good players. I mean, Juan Uribe had already won a World Series with the White Sox. So no matter if you gave somebody a day off, you had a major league player to step in. I mean, he strengthened our bullpen. We always had an issue. How are we going to get to Familia? Well, he went out and got, Addison Reed and Tyler Clippard. And all of a sudden now 7, 8, 9 innings there, we had a guy to pitch those innings. And that really was a huge difference in 2015.
So I think it's been clear over your years as a manager that no one could ever really question your passion for the game. Do you know offhand how many times you've been ejected from a ball game?
No, I don't know the total.
I looked it
Darren
up.
does.
Late in the last couple of years, where you had replay, you didn't really get kicked out very much because you couldn't argue the calls anymore.
Well, I wanted to look this up because obviously you have a very legendary ejection at Citi Field from back in 2016. But you have 40 total ejections, 20 with the Mets, 10 with the Angels, and 10 with the Astros. And considering you managed more games for the Mets than any manager in the history of our team, 1,134 games, 20 times is not that much.
That's really not that bad. That's pretty impressive.
Well, I was lucky. I had good players. Didn't have, a lot of times you get ejected by protecting your player during a certain situation. But I was lucky enough not to be in that spot too much.
Right.
So speaking of protecting your players, walk us back. So May 28th, 2016, who a lot of fans maybe forget was also the 1986 reunion
Big
day.
night at Citi.
So you guys had on the throwback uniforms, which I love, the racing stripe. I don't know if you guys loved wearing them, but the racing stripe with the 86 throwback. Walk us back to that night. Obviously, you wanted a little bit of retaliation against Utley. Is this something that fans always want to talk to you about?
Yes. Every fan I know brings up, oh my God, I saw you last night on the internet. Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe what had happened. And I said, well, I couldn't believe it either. Those things happen and you react in the spur of the moment. But that certainly was a situation where, 10 years ago, that would have happened, and nobody would have blinked an eye.
Right.
Utley knew he was going to get thrown at. I wish Noah would have hit him. I mean, instead of throwing behind him, throwing 100, I wish he'd left a mark. But those things used to be part of the game, and guys knew it was coming. Umpires knew it was coming. I can't tell you, when I was first started managing, we'd get in a situation like that, and the umpire said, "You get one shot, and it's over."
Right.
Well, that's pretty much what Tom said to you.
Nowadays, all of a sudden, Major League Baseball is trying to stop that stuff. But that's part, that was part of our game for years.
Right. I mean, yeah, you could see, I watched the replay. I mean, I love that clip. I'm not sure if you love it, but obviously it took the internet by storm. So I watched it again today for the millionth time I've seen it. But Utley was standing there. He looked like he was ready to wear it. And like you said, Noah missed. But we were there watching from center field that day. And, we didn't expect it was going to be something where he was ejected immediately with no warning. I think that's probably what got you as heated as he did. But did you know at the time that Tom Hallion was mic'd up?
And would you have reacted differently?
I did not. And that's a question I've been asked before. And usually the home plate umpire that's mic'd up. And so when you go ahead at the beginning of the game, when you hand over the lineup cards, they will tell you, "Hey, by the way, I'm mic'd up."
Right.
The first base umpires, and I was shocked. I mean, as I told somebody on a show one time, do you really think I would have said those things had I known he had a microphone on?
That's what I was saying.
So
that's what Julia said to me before we went live. I was
like, give him a break here.
We were going over our notes here, and I was like, do you think he knew? She's like, no way.
There's no way he would have chosen the language he did, though I understand in the heat of the moment, things come out. But
I think that honestly.
I hope even though I was still angry, had I known he was microphoned,
right.
I certainly would have controlled myself a little better.
Well, but as fans, I think that obviously it's a game and it's also a job, and we understand that players get paid big bucks, and for fans to be so passionate as we are to watch the game. We love when people are as passionate as you are, as a player would be about the game, because it's not just a job, and you really do care about it. And I think that goes a long way with the fans. So when that clip didn't hit the internet immediately. I think it took a while for that to come out. It wasn't like the next day.
No, I think it was like a year or so later.
It came out a while after
it
the
might
fact.
have been 2 or 3 years
later.
later.
It was down the road.
When that came out, I got a phone call. Said, "Hey, have you seen this clip that's out about you that's gone viral?" And I said, "No, I don't. I don't do that kind of stuff." And get on the internet and look at things. And they said, "Well, you need to see this." Well, I called Major League Baseball and I said, "There should be an apology coming down the road here, coming down the pipe. I got grandkids. That can you imagine them coming home from school saying, 'Hey, Grandpa,
look what Grandpa said.
By the way, I saw you, and what does this mean, and what does that mean?'" I said. And I told people in Major League Baseball, I said, how can that happen? How can that get out?
Yeah.
That stuff's supposed to be, especially anything out of microphone, it goes in a thing, and it's supposed to be locked away. And so I was shocked.
Or at least censored.
Yeah. For a while, I think that MLB, I don't want to put words in their mouth or anyone else that does marketing for the league, but for a while, especially when this came out, they would pull a lot of clips from the internet, like whether it was John Boy or Barstool or whoever would post clips and it would get pulled. Right. But I think that maybe they came, not this instance, but they came to the realization like, wait, we have all these people sharing content on the internet for us, kind of like NBA players and NBA fans do. That almost like helps the sport. They're getting so much more eyeballs on the sport, whether it's for this reason or others, that they're being a little bit more lenient.
Hey, you're furthering the game, Terry. Good job
on sharing content. But we were speaking of Noah there, so I want to ask this question from the audience here. James Williams wants to know, because as we know, Noah famously went to LA and now he's back, on the East Coast with the Phillies. But what do you think the biggest difference was between managing in LA and managing in NYC?
Oh, they're two completely different. And when I was in LA, though, I was in Anaheim. I wasn't with the Dodgers. So where Noah's at. And so when you're in Los Angeles, you're you're just it's Dodger town. And, LA is the Dodger territory. And so managing in Anaheim's like managing in a country club. There's hardly any pressure on anybody. And, I was when I was managing the Angels, somebody asked me to give a speech one day, and I told our community relations department I was going to go give a speech, and they said, "Well, you can't give that. That's in Dodger territory." Let me tell you what, that doesn't fly in New York.
Right.
I mean, this is a baseball hotbed of a town, of a city. I still today walk down the streets and have people stop and ask me questions and bring up stuff, and it's two completely different atmospheres, and that's why when you hear you guys are doing interviews and someone say, well, this market or and that's big. This is the biggest stage. There's no bigger than this, and the passion that the fan base has, they care. They care how their team does. They care how their players act, and it's a tremendous place. And if you can play here in New York, you can play anywhere.
Yeah, it's funny. We were out in Anaheim, I think a couple months ago for Mets series with our group. And there's a brewery directly across the street from the Anaheim Stadium. I can't remember the name of it, but the bartenders were wearing Dodgers shirts. And I walked up and I'm like,
that pretty much speaks it.
I'm like, isn't this kind of, I said that to him, is this kind of like weird? You're right across from the ballpark and you're wearing a Dodgers shirt, not that you have to wear Mets or Anaheim, but maybe something totally impartial. They're like, it doesn't matter. Everyone's a Dodger fan here.
Crazy.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't care.
No, yeah. I mean, it makes me think like poor Trout, poor Ohtani, just rotting away on that team that no one cares about. It's awful. But all right, Terry, so tell us about Old Timers Day. We know you're going to be there on Saturday. Very exciting. Did you and Joe Torre get to pick your own teams? How did that work?
Well, actually, Jay Horowitz, the guy who set this all up, who was the media relations director when I was here, who's, was a Met for 40 years. And, he's the one who kind of pushed for Old Timers Day. And so they started calling around, inviting guys. And then he met with some people here at the ballpark where I'm at right now, and actually had to do my lineup today for the game. But, they're the ones who said, hey, here's your teams, but let's do a little mock draft and pick some guys. And so we did that and had a lot of fun with it. And Willie's really great. Willie and I were teammates years ago in the Pirate organization. So it was really, really fun to do. And I'm really excited about it. I'm looking forward to it. There's a lot of these guys that I didn't know who are coming. Some of them I did. I mean, Sid Fernandez, who's a famous Met, I played, he pitched for me when he was 19. So I'm anxious to see a lot of these guys.
So I'm going to ask you a question, kind of put you on the spot here, because you said you already did your mock draft. I'm looking at the roster right in front of me. Can you let us know, at least on your team, who is leading off and who is batting cleanup? Can you tell us that?
I know the leadoff hitter is going to be Jose Reyes.
Wow.
And Mookie's going to hit second. Murph's going to hit third. And I believe I've got Hojo hitting fourth.
You got some
after
youth.
That I forgot who I put down.
That is incredible. Do you have Piazza on your team?
No, he's on the other team.
This is great.
Mike's going to play much.
This is awesome. Yeah, a lot of the guys, I think I don't know who I follow. Maybe it's Art Shamsky. He has a Twitter account, and he's like, I took BP. I tried on my uniform. I did all this. And he's like, I still don't think I'm actually going to play in the game. But
how long is the game going to actually be?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Know?
Do we know? 2 innings.
2 innings. Nice.
2 innings.
Will
I'm excited.
everyone get to hit?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be tough to get all those guys in 2 innings.
I was going to say that's cutting it close.
That's going to be incredible, though. I'm so excited for it. And, it's something the Mets did years ago. And for our generation, I mean, I'm 41 years old and I'd never been to an Old Timers Day, and Julia is much younger than me, so she certainly hasn't either. But we're so excited for it, just to see the old band back together, and guys, all these legends throughout the years, putting the uniforms back on and getting to Citi Field. I think it's a great tradition that I'm glad that the Cohens and the Mets are bringing back. I hope it's an annual thing.
It'll be a lot of fun, I'll tell you.
So before we let you go, I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't mention, just to take a second to thank you for how much love you gave our group over the years. I mean, you weren't always blessed with the most talented rosters, but you always put 100% into it. And we, as our group was starting in 2012, we saw a lot of losing baseball, but we always tried to put as much passion as we could behind, cheering on our teams. And, our first ever outing when we were out in Wrigley in 2013, you specifically came out to greet us in the bleachers before the game. And you actually said, what the heck are you guys doing here? Is what you said to us. So,
well, you guys have started something that's gone throughout all the other cities. When you guys go to these towns, there's teams that'll say, why don't we do this? How come we don't have a group that follows this? And so you guys have created an atmosphere that the players love, just absolutely love. And you should be like, everybody should tip their hat to you. Everybody should come out and say thank you to you guys. It's really cool to see, when you all show up in a game. And I remember a night you guys were at Yankee Stadium the year we swept the Yankees, and you changed it. You changed the whole dynamics of that series.
Well, thank you, Terry. I appreciate that. I mean, honestly, like I know you can't see it here, but my friend Brian, who's a big member of our group, he wasn't sitting with us that day, but the final game of 2014, obviously the Mets weren't making the playoffs, but when the game ended, the players were throwing it, their batting gloves into the crowd and so on and so forth. But you made a beeline straight for us with, I think, 3 or 4 baseballs to throw into the crowd and, wave to everybody. And there's a sign here on the screen that says, "We believe in 2015." So it was almost like a premonition of what was going to happen the next year. But you always went above and beyond for us. And I definitely just want to say thank you for that.
You bet. Thank you so much.
All right, Terry. So we thank you for your time.
Thank you for weathering the technical difficulties.
Appreciate you rolling with the punches here with the technical difficulties. But I'm going to be out there on Saturday, so I'll try to come and say hello.
Please do. Please do.
All right. Thanks, Terry.
Good to talk to you guys. Thanks for having me on.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Woo!
Wow.
That was great.
Everyone could hear that clearly. Like, that was good. It
I
sounded good in my ears. I hope it did for everyone else.
I think so.
Oh, my goodness.
So people are saying,
what a gem.
What an amazing love from TC. Way to go, Jay. It's funny. I was talking to Jay yesterday on the phone. I don't know if you guys saw that screenshot of my FaceTime with Joe. Not Joe, with Jay. So Jay called to say, hey, everything cool with Terry, because Jay was the one to help set this up. So thank you to Jay Horwitz. But so I get off with Jay. I'm like, yeah, everything's cool. 2 seconds later, as I told you, I get a FaceTime from Jay walking through the halls at Citi Field. And he looks down. He's like, oh, hey, Darren, sorry. He goes to turn it off and it stays on. And then he's like, see, this is how I get in trouble.
And keeps talking with you on the phone.
Yeah.
Wait a second. Also, because you had wrote down for me Joe Torre. Isn't Willie Randolph the other manager?
Yeah. You know what? The only reason I said Joe Torre was because I was listening to Carton and Roberts, and they were the ones that said there was the mock draft between Terry and Joe Torre.
Okay.
So maybe
we got bad information, but I could have sworn it was Willie. And then he said Willie. I was like, damn it.
Well,
yeah, they're all there.
Terry Collins, Joe Torre, Willie Randolph, and Bobby Valentine. Yeah. And if you're late, this was excellent that we also got a little inside information.
Yeah, look at us getting scoops.
That on Terry's team, leading off is Jose Reyes. Batting second is Mookie Wilson. Batting third is Daniel Murphy. And cleaning up for Team Collins is Hojo. This would be so cool.
It's a really youthful team for like the guys that are there. Like, he's got a good team.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And we also got confirmed that Piazza is not on Terry Collins.
And 2 innings that's going to be hard to get all of those guys in.
Yeah.
That's going to, granted, not all of them are playing, but I think it should be at least 3. So I don't know if they would be 1, 2, 3 innings in this kind of game, but then at least it guarantees everyone gets to hit at least once.
Yeah. And you know what? Before I move on, I don't want to touch anything because I'm so glad that it actually worked.
I know.
But just so you can let me know in the comments before we continue the show, is my sound and Julia's sound just as loud as each other? Because
I also scream.
This is nuts that I was able to I had found that wire.
Guys,
this was our old conference call phone in the back, and then ran a splitter into the one port. So both microphones are on the same channel.
That was really impressive what you could do under pressure versus what I did under pressure. I'm really sorry for
I thought you were about to pass out.
I couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
I had no idea what to discuss. We had really already touched on all of the things.
Right.
Because we didn't have a lot. Usually, if this was a normal show, we have an entire hour's worth of things to talk about. We didn't have much because we were having Terry on and we already talked about everything we were planning.
That's awesome.
So I panicked.
I actually even lost my oh, here it is. All right, guys. So next week, as Julia, I think she talked about for a second, we have the game next Wednesday against the Dodgers.
Yes.
That's sold out. So if you wanted to hit the game with us, it's too late. But if you go to the7line.com, scroll down to the bottom, there's a button that says forum. It's free. Make an account. There's like a bunch of threads of people either trying to sell tickets or buy tickets or meet up for games or whatever. The forum is great. There's thousands of members on there. It doesn't get like a ton of activity every day. But if you're looking for something specifically, and you don't see it on there, there's a button that says like buy and sell tickets. Say that you want to go to the game next week. Maybe someone will contact you and you could just transfer through the ballpark app. It's very easy. It's easier than ever, especially back in the day when we still had hard tickets. I'd like go meet up with somebody.
Oh my gosh. Isn't that crazy?
No.
Like that we used to do that?
Well, what's crazier too is,
I do miss paper
when we were cardboard cutouts at games. Did you ever think, of course we were going to get back to some type of normalcy again.
I'll tell you right now, I did not know.
You were never going to go to
not that I think we were never going to go, but every single day that went by, you were just hearing about things getting worse. You weren't hearing about it again. I did not think we'd be back this quickly.
Right.
I thought we very well could have still been
cardboard. They showed a replay of Pete Alonso's walk-off home run against the Yankees at Citi Field 2 years ago, which was nuts too. Remember, they only played the NL East and AL East.
Yeah,
they played a season. It was 60 games, but you only played
on your
Red Sox, the Yankees.
side of the country.
Yeah, it was nuts. So, It was only 2 years ago, but it feels like a million. And I'm glad that we are somewhat back to normal. So next week we will be tailgating. It is a Wednesday. I'm not bringing the big ass truck because it's a pain in the ass to drive through rush hour, but we will be there. Coney's will be there. I think Amelia might even be setting up a lemonade stand.
Amazing. Bring cash.
Change. Bring like pennies.
Amelia will haggle you. She is her father's daughter. She is a businesswoman, so be prepared.
She still, I mean, she knows what the 7-Line logo is. She knows the T7L. But whenever we see anyone wearing Mets anything, she still thinks it's from
My
here.
dad owns the Mets. Didn't she used to say that?
Yeah, she was confused. I'm like, I am not Steve Cohen.
One could only
But
hope.
I appreciate that she's coming around more. So that'll be fun. So next week, definitely coming out. The game's at 7. I figure we'll be there about like 4-ish.
All right.
I hope.
Yeah.
Tailgate for a couple hours, then head on inside. We talked about Tick Pick. We talked about Coney. We did touch a little bit on the first pitch. I did reach out to the Oakland A's because now I'm trying to
let's do this at every ballpark.
Now I'm trying to push the envelope a little bit.
Let's piss everyone off.
We're going to be there next month.
Listen, what does Oakland have to lose? No one would notice. No one would care.
They did reply. They said, unfortunately, the first pitch honors are already taken for that day. So it's not going to happen. But we are going to be there on Friday night. We're working out some tickets. So we're going to be there on Friday night as well. So if you want to come hang out, I'll let you know where we're going to be sitting. But last night's announced attendance in Oakland was 2,630 fans. That's announced attendance. That means like tickets sold.
Yeah, and not everyone shows up.
No, I would say maybe half that.
That's so depressing.
Very.
When you're like a big leaguer, it's like, wow, I made it to the big leagues, but I'm on the Athletics, and this is whatever. It's like playing in the minors.
They draw more in like Maimonides.
Yeah, Maimonides.
Look at that. Did you happen to see what went down in left field there recently?
I heard about something happening.
Okay, so upper deck, left field,
Yeah.
a man and a woman were doing public naughty things with each other. And obviously they wanted to be seen. It was during the day. They're in the sun. They're up top.
In the sun.
Yeah, they're getting a sunburn on their pecker. So clearly they wanted to be caught. Maybe they're into that sort of thing. But it's all over the internet. I want to hang out with these fans, not those fans.
I was going to say, show the screen.
I want to hang out with these A's fans who had a lot of fun with this. I believe this was last night. Let's play this clip.
All right, we're here at the scene of the crime.
Don't blow it, baby.
So 3 signs, don't play ball, and the other one was keep your head in the game. So definitely they're having fun with it. If you're those A's fans, I doubt you're watching our show, but I definitely want to seek those people out and have fun with them when we get down there next month. So we are going to be tailgating. I think it's in Lot K. The Oakland A's are giving us our own tailgate spot.
Why not?
And parking spots and all this other stuff. So I sent out an email last night. If you happen to be sitting with us and you want to partake in bringing things to the tailgate, I don't expect you to spend any of your own money, but I'm going to be comping a handful of parking spots.
Nice.
I'm going to pay, for people to
Man of the people.
pay to park just because I want you to help bring stuff. So tables, tents, coolers. If you bring ice, I'll throw you some bucks for ice. But everyone else will BYOB. So bring your own booze. I don't think we can get Coney's out there on the West Coast, but BYOB, snacks and stuff like that. And we're going to pregame party before that outing next month. It's that Saturday game against Oakland in Oakland. We sold, I think, 800 tickets to the game, which now that they're only drawing 2,000 in August.
That's like almost half the attendance.
What are they going to draw in September? It's going to be all Mets fans. There's a lot of Mets fans
wild.
in California. So even if you're not sitting with us, we welcome you to come to the pregame party, the pregame tailgate. I don't know if we're going to be doing anything after the game. I'm sure something will pop up, but there is a discounted hotel room as well. So check your emails. I sent it out last night. There's a link to the hotel, and also get back to me if you're driving and you want to bring stuff. So again, Saturday, don't forget Old Timers Day. Hit up Tick Pick if you want to buy some tickets and you haven't yet. Also, don't forget tonight, the game is on SNY and also Amazon Prime.
Amazon.
I think it's on both.
Okay.
So make sure you give the hometown team some love. Our boys in the booth. It is on SNY and Amazon Prime.
Interesting.
I don't know if it's on Yes, but it's definitely on SNY. So watch the local broadcast.
Yeah.
The streaming services have been less than desirable.
Terrible.
So except for when they had Wayne on that one time.
Yes. And also, I will say, I enjoyed hearing Cliff Floyd in the Apple TV booth.
I like Cliff.
I love him when he does the MLB Network stuff. I don't know if I like him as like a play-by-play.
I don't want to shit on Cliff. I like Cliff. Is he coming this weekend?
I think so.
I want to beat me up.
No, I love Cliff. You have my thing. You took it from me.
He is going to be there.
Yeah.
So the only thing, I mean, Cliff's great. I mean, it's always nice to see some kind of alumni represented when the Mets are playing. But I think that we're just so spoiled now with how good our broadcasters are.
It's so hard to find any booth, because I've heard fans of other teams, when Ron Darling does postseason baseball, people hate Ron Darling that aren't Mets fans. They can't stand listening to him. And I don't agree, but I also think there's just such a difference in the quality of the broadcast when it's a team you're watching night in and night out and you know every little thing. When it's a national broadcast like that, their job is to dumb down everything that's happening for the casual national, even though it is the actual fans watching it, but that's just their job, is they have to make this consumable to everyone. Can't assume you know too much, which for us is just like, oh my God, we know. Like, it's just boring. But
all right, guys,
some could do better than others.
We're coming in on the hour now. I have figured out how to trim and get things on Instagram, thankfully. So
great.
We can go like 30 seconds over, but either way, let's not do that. I want to thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed that interview with Terry, please share this to your social media. Tell your friends to catch up on the interview. It would have been nice to see his face, but we know what Terry looks like. So either way, the sound is the sound. Thanks for bearing with us when I figured out this soundboard here. I'm kind of impressed with myself.
Listening to me.
I forgot to ask him.
What?
If he has an extra spot on the roster, MVP, fantasy camp.
What a shame. Darren didn't get to ask if he could play at Old Timers Day.
It would have been better if he could see us visually.
Because you want to show
he probably doesn't even remember meeting me or seeing me at fantasy camp. He's like, oh, here's some other jabroni that paid thousands of dollars to play fantasy camp for a week. But that would have been nice.
I know. I'm sad I didn't get to show him my shirt either, which I don't know if anybody else noticed. It says to who for what with his face on it.
Do you think I should bring my uniform on Saturday?
No.
And just pretend I'm there to play?
No, I don't.
Kind of like Costanza when he doesn't get fired.
I think that's
how he just shows up for work anyway.
That's how for the first time since 2011 you get ejected from the ballpark, is trying to go on the field and play in your uniform.
I have a credential. I don't want to, all right. I don't want to show off here, but I rarely,
if you have the pass,
I rarely ask for any kind of access.
Go with God.
I want to make like a behind the scenes video. Our Instagram reels have been crushing it. Indart alone is like, I know 100,000 views on Instagram. So
you can. There are players, like he said, he doesn't think Mike Piazza's going to play much. Maybe Mike Piazza wants a pinch hitter.
All right, so I'm bringing a bag. I'm going to bring my uniform Saturday. Look for some kind of behind the scenes video Saturday night or probably Sunday morning, because I can't do it from the game, of Old Timers Day. Buy your tickets. Tick Pick. Watch the game tonight on SNY. Thanks to Coney. Thanks to Tick Pick. Thanks to Julia. Thanks to you guys. Share the show. Be in the running for all the free stuff.
Swipe it to the right. Snap it to the chat.
And most importantly, put it in the books. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Hopefully the Mets get back on track and start stringing along some games here, because this 3-game lead could shrink very quickly. Thanks, guys.
Put it in the box.